one. We're here.
All right. Welcome to the Good Life, guys. Episode 39. I was just telling everybody on Instagram that today we are talking about how to start a business. Chris, what's up, man? How you
Man,
been?
life is good, brother. Life is good. And today is going to be such a good topic. I'm really just excited about it. We just had our pregame, right, on Instagram, and we got a chance to talk a little bit about it and kind of a little bit about what we're going to be touching on tonight.
Hmm.
But anytime we get a chance to talk business, I'm fired up. It's a good conversation. So life is good on this side. How have you been?
I've been good, man. You got me a little fired up just saying that, talking about business, because I think back, and we kind of touched on this in the pregame. I think back to when like business topics or work topics, as I used to call them, because that was the income, right?
Mm-hmm.
That used to bore me or used to get people upset, like, oh, you can't talk about that here, we're not at work.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's a game. The whole thing's different.
That's it,
it's,
man.
it's fun now.
It definitely is. And I tell people this all the time. Like, once you find things that, I even go away from using the word passionate about, but like just find things that excite you, that like you can enjoy talking about and going down. Like, why wouldn't you want to talk about this stuff? These are basically ideas. That old saying, what is it? Small minds talk about people, average minds talk about events, great minds talk about ideas, right? And
Mm.
anytime we start talking business or just anything in the realm of business, it's like we're talking ideas. And I think it's just an exciting thing to talk about. It's awesome to be in rooms with people that want to talk about ideas of where things are going and what you see and problems and challenges and great things and right, like I just think it's a great thing, man. So I'm fired up for tonight.
Yeah, same here, man. I think one of the reasons why talking about ideas like that is so cool is because like you are literally discussing how you and the other people involved are going to create their reality.
Exactly. That's it.
So it takes it to a new level. There's this ownership that we always talk about on the good life, and there's just getting after it and realizing you can make a change with it. So yeah, so for those just tuning in, I wanted to focus on three main things tonight about business. So if any of these hit home for you, just go ahead and stick around and check these out, or you can always come back and save this later. So simplify the plan is probably my very first point to anybody I'm talking about. There's so many reasons why simplifying the plan is so important, but keep that in mind. Like right now, a lot of the times people overcomplicate starting a business. It's just a step by step process. And if you simplify it, break it out, we can do that. So we'll go into that tonight. We'll also talk about who you must become, and with that, some of the sacrifices you have to make from your old life, your old way of being, into the new one, going from that employee to entrepreneur mindset, lifestyle, all that. And then finally is the fear, because I think that's one of the driving forces that really creates resistance to people going off and starting their own business. It's the most common thing that people bring up. It's like, well, what if I don't make money? What if I lose my house, my mortgage, my job? Like, when you talk about someone's income, it's a sensitive, very sensitive issue. Money is money and status and all that in society. And then you talk about the fact that this is how you eat, this is how you provide for your family. So fear is real with this. So with that said, anything come to mind there, Chris?
I mean, I'm ready to just start from the top and run it down because all of those things are so incredibly important. But let's just right give context. Why is this conversation even important, right? Why is even the conversation of starting a business important? From a financial guy, remember this show, ladies and gentlemen, is the good life, right? Where we talk health, wealth, love, happiness, mindset, all of the things that are going to help you get to the life that you want. That's what we're here to do. And inside of this kind of wealth side of things, I believe controlling and owning your income is a huge part to that. Like it plays a huge factor in you getting to that life. If you're and again, right, just everyone, because again, I know there's both sides of it. Everyone listens, says everyone's not meant to be an entrepreneur. I get it. But just understand, if over the long haul, if over your entire life you are always subject to someone else paying you, or right, you have to get your income from another place, meaning someone has to pay you, you're always going to be vulnerable to a degree. You're always going to be vulnerable to a degree. As safe and secure as you may believe that job is, industries crumble, economies crumble, like things happen. Things happen. And for everyone that has a job long term, you could be vulnerable to losing that income. And when you lose the income, well, it shakes up the rest of your financial life, and it becomes a little bit more difficult to get to that good life if you have some financial insecurities or some things that you have to actually take care of. So that's why this conversation around owning a business, starting a business, having ways to create your own economy and bring in the money that you need is incredibly important, especially in 2021 when we're recording this, right? Somebody's going to watch this in 2023, and right, it might be a different story, but I don't think so. I think we'll be further along that path of entrepreneurship, of controlling one's income, controlling one's economy. That's even why this whole conversation is important. I watched, and then we'll dive right in, Stu. But I watched just recently one of those CNBC YouTube type of videos that was talking about the great exodus, right? Like all the month of August, like a large number of people quit their jobs, right? Like some astronomical number that they haven't seen, all quit their jobs in the month of August. And
of 2021, right?
yeah, like recently,
Cool.
yeah, like of 2021, people just quitting their jobs, not coming back, turning in their resignation letter. And what they're finding is that this pandemic, right, the time that we've had away, the work from home movement, the I get to see my family a lot, the I can take naps and do things that I want to do and not be in this environment, be in an environment that I choose, that's actually caught people's interest, right? Now people started seeing, I could have a better quality of life. I could actually spend and see my family a little bit more and still find a way to make money. And now we're at this place where a lot of people are thinking about this. A lot of people are thinking about it. And because of that, that's why we need to have the conversation about what's this process like? Some people want to get things started quickly. Some people take a long time to think about it. Like there's all types of things that come into play. But at the end of the day, we're sitting at this place in time right now where this is needed. The conversation around starting a business and creating your own economy is needed. So that's why we're having it, guys. It's going to be good.
Absolutely. Man, you touched on so many great points there. COVID really rattled people. This whole shutdown just changed so many people's way of life that it forced them to look at their circumstances differently. And then if you're not an essential business, you suffered this year as an employee. It was tough to maintain your same job, or perhaps you had to make some massive adjustment of going into the office to going home, and you dealt with some type of anxiety or just rapid change. So it's always interesting how these types of things prove to people that I want to have more control over the situation. And, as an entrepreneur, like if something like this happens, we can adapt to serve our needs. But when a company is in charge of you and 5,000 other people, you sure they're going to be adapting for just your needs specifically? Probably not. So I think it's imperative, even if it's just a side hustle for a secondary income, something to learn it. But yeah, so to start off, simplifying the plan. This one to me is there's so many ways to go about this. For anybody interested in like creating a business plan, hit me up. I can send you some resources on how to just come up with a one-page pitch and then how to build on it from there. But for the sake of this call, I want to make it really simple. It's something we've always thought about since kids, is break it down into who, what, when, where, why, and how. If you just take everything you have in your head and you have a well thought through answer on each one of those, you are way, way ahead of most of the people I know that talk about starting their own business. Because a lot of people talk about it and not a lot of people actually do anything with it. And a lot of that comes from who you got to become and the fear that we'll get to later. But seriously, who, what, when, where, why, and how? What platforms are you using? Who do you want to work with? What is your objective? What are you providing? Why go with you? and then how is the whole thing going to work? By when are you going to accomplish this task? Um, that can simplify the whole thing right there. So, Chris, when it comes to when you first thought about opening a business, like how did you take the idea and turn it into a plan?
Yeah. So my start in entrepreneurship was a little bit unconventional. Um, I saw my wife and her brother running their own business. They ran a distribution company. So I watched that process happen over and over again. Product, manufacturing products, distributing products, right? Having the warehouse, having people package things up, shipping, the whole nine. Lots of hours, lots of turnover, lots of moving parts, right? When I got introduced to entrepreneurship, I got introduced to a financial services platform, right? And a platform that gave me some support on the back end, right? With some of the insurance companies and right, some of the contracts and things like that. That's how I got kind of introduced to it. But it was still on us to be able to build the client base, market properly, right? Go through the sales process with people. That was still all of us. The only thing that I was given a platform and right the industry that I knew that was going to take me there, the financial services space, right? That's how I got introduced to entrepreneurship. Then being in financial services and learning about sales and learning about marketing, because again, you don't know these things until you get here, that this is what it takes. That I had to learn more about sales. I had to go through some sales courses, right? I had to go through some, okay, if I'm going to get a product to people, how do I get it to them? There are mechanics to how you sell something, right? There are actual learned behavior and things that you can say or not say or do to make sure that you're getting a product to somebody. Then you have the marketing side of your business, which is how are you reaching more people? How are you sharing the message, right? How do you build your brand out? Those things I had to kind of figure out as I went down the path. I already had the industry I was in. I just didn't have some of the mechanics of how to do all the other things, right? So for me, it wasn't about maybe bringing a product to market, so to speak, like from start to finish, right? Even though now that I've been in this space for a little bit of time, without a job and really just building business, now I understand that process too of what it takes to build someone from scratch, right? To get to a product and get that product out to market. But for me, it was just a little bit different, right? The plan was already relatively simple coming in. I just had to now learn some skill sets to
Mm.
be able to execute on that plan, right?
Absolutely, learning those skill sets. That learning part, that acquisition of knowledge, like when you break down this plan into all the different components that we've been mentioning, you begin to realize that there are certain things you're going to have to know how to do. You're going to have to know, like, let's take a lot, for example, sales, you mentioned, which I think is huge. I had to learn sales. I have never been a salesy person or a sales guy. Like, I just never taken any time um, to be that person.
Mhm.
So that was a huge learning curve. Um,
And let's
and like
touch
you
on
said,
that real quick, man.
yeah,
Like, sorry to interrupt, but like, so many people are scared of sales. The transition people make from their job, where they don't really have to fish, so to speak, or hunt, so to speak, right? And then you come into this world, you automatically tell yourself what you're not. And I know we're going to get to fears. This will go right into it. That sales fear. Oh, I'm not a salesperson. Everything is sales.
everything,
Sales is
everything,
influence.
everything. Yep.
Sales is influence, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to clip anything from tonight, clip
Mhm.
that. Sales is influence. Sales isn't. So you need the ability, if you have a business, to influence people. It's the only way. Someone influenced you to buy their thing. It's why you have the car you have. It's why you wear the clothes you wear. It's why you choose to go to the places you go to, because someone influenced you in that direction. That's sales. We're constant. If your parents, you're selling your children constantly because you're constantly influencing them on the right and wrong things to do.
Mm.
That is sales. If you're a really good parent, you'll be a very good salesperson because you have influence. That's it. So when we get these words in our mind of like, oh, like I can't be good at sales or I can't do this, like, no, 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 you can. You can. You just have to understand what you're influencing too. And if your mission and your, business is strong enough, you'll influence people as to why this is good for them or why they need to work with you or whatever it is. Sales. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, sales and marketing is the backbone of any business because business is about an exchange of value. Part of that exchange of value is money coming in. So financials, when it comes to this plan, is a very important piece. Once you get the framework of how your business is going to operate with that who, what, when, where, why, how, etc., you've got to figure out how is this thing going to produce money. If it's going to produce more money than what you spend on the business, then theoretically it's a profitable business. And I think what a lot of people struggle with is trying to put together a map on how to say, okay, you know what, how am I going to make more than I spend? And sales and marketing, that influence is pivotal to this. You cannot receive income if someone does not know what you do. And part of that sales and marketing piece can go into so many different directions with sales and marketing, like its own call. I
Mm-hmm.
guess I'll like just to toss out two things for people's consideration is one, there's hunting, and two, there's gathering. And Chris kind of alluded to hunting earlier, where you're going out and you're hunting and you're trying to find your client. Then there's gathering, where you position yourself in a place where your consumer is attracted to you, sees you, whatever. That's gathering, where you're just there and they come to you. So understanding how to get those clients through sales and marketing, hunting, gathering is extremely important. The final piece, happy to take any questions on this one. This is a big one, is the KLT factor. Know, like, and trust. They got to know you to even know what your service is. They got to like you if they want to connect and follow and actually be in some type of value gain experience with you. They got to like who you are. They got to like your brand, your mission statement. And then finally, trust. How do they trust? How do you prove to somebody or show them that you're going to be able to say what you can do? So all of that sales and marketing is a huge part of the plan for your financials, etc.
That's huge. That's huge. And again, we're trying to simplify this for all of you because so many people want to continue to build a business or, right, create their own economy or whatever the case is. All that stuff that you just said, Stu, 1,000%. Sales and marketing, hunting and gathering, and then that know, like, and trust factor. People only do business with people that they know, like, and trust.
Only,
That's it. They
only,
only do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust. That's
yeah,
it. And honestly, right, that trust factor can be a referral. That trust can be, hey, my friend tried you. My neighbor said this was good. That's just the trust. So they might not know you, they might not like you yet, but the trust factor came from referral. So those things are incredibly, incredibly important to pay attention to, right? Sales and marketing, guys, that's what business comes down to. Yes, you got to pay attention. Yes, you got to pay attention to your financials, but really, this is sales and marketing, right? And that is it. If you want to go back to simplifying the plan, one other thing I wanted to say to simplify these plans, guys, is you got to make sure that your business solves a problem. That falls under the right. If you do the who, what, right? The what of your
the
business,
what? Absolutely.
right? That's the what of your business. What problem does your business solve? Every business is meant to solve a problem. Here's a tip: the bigger the problem, the more the money. The bigger problem that you solve, more money that you make. You solve small problems, you make small money. You solve big problems, you make big money. It's kind of the way that it goes, right? So understand when you are in the process of thinking about, I think I want to start something. I think I want to start a business here. One of the things you need to figure out in the what is what problem am I solving? Like what's the value prop here? Why would people need this? What issue are they having? Do you know it's an issue for people, or are you just guessing, right? Like that becomes a huge part in starting the business. So many people I know start businesses because of things they think about, but then they don't test them. They don't know if there's an actual market for that. They don't know if people would actually use that thing because they don't know if that's an actual problem. Some of the things that become bigger businesses stem from a few people saying they have this problem, and then you solving it, and then seeing that if those people have it, a lot of people have this problem. Then all of a sudden, you found the thing, right? Now you can start putting those other pieces in place to figure out what is the sales process. Once you figure out what the problem is, what's that next thing that's needed to happen? Sometimes, Stu, I go back and forth with people on this on the entrepreneur side. Sometimes the business plan isn't necessary, right? Sometimes
I
it's just,
actually didn't start with one.
yeah,
Yeah.
most people don't, right? Like I feel like most, right? I just listened to the book that will never work. It's the story of Netflix from the co-founder of Netflix, Mark Randolph. And he literally talked about how they got the idea of Netflix started. It started with them driving in a car, bouncing ideas off of each other of things that they would want to do. And then one day, right, they talked about like being able to mail DVDs. And they were like, can you even mail a DVD? And then they went and picked up one. They picked up a CD from the store, put a little postage on it, and mailed it to their house just to check. And when it came in, that was their business plan. They're like, oh, well, we can do this. Like that was how simple it was. And look at where Netflix is today. And that's where it started of like, huh, can you even mail a CD? Is that the way that it works? Let's try. We mail the CD. Now we have a multi-billion-dollar company because of that. So simplifying that plan, guys, you might not need the business plan. You got to know what problem your business solves. Then you got to make sure that you're putting in the next step, which is how are we testing this, improving this in the market, meaning how are we getting some sales?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I have some mantras here for people to remember, and you just touched on one. If you're ever in a moment of indecision about what to do with your business, trial and error, super easy. That's all. Like just try something, see how it goes. And on the financials piece, well, you know what? We're going to say that for later because I'm going to get to that later on. All right, so we talked about simplifying the plan. The second thing I want to really dive into here, and this is something that Chris and I are both very passionate about, is who do you have to become to run the business? Like right now, a lot of you that are considering starting a business are employees. That's cool. There's no shame in it. That's where you are right now. And if you like it, that's great. If you want something different, which I think as influencers of the good life and try and like Chris and I will try and sell you on some of the benefits of having your own business. It is just a better way, Chris was touching on it earlier, to have control over your income, control over your time. And when it comes to who you have to become, like you're going to have to switch from someone that doesn't control their time and their source of money to someone that does. Like, yes, you can be at work as an employee and work harder and try and get the promotion, but you're still going to have to ask and get a yes or no question of whether or not you get more money, you get a raise, etc. Well, when you're a business owner, you don't have to do that. So when you go from the employee mindset to the entrepreneurial mindset, there's a huge shift. I think one of the big things is your the things that disciplined you before, like external motivators, boss, schedule, for me was concrete pours, just deadlines in general, whatever the case may be, those things disciplined you from an external source. When you're becoming a entrepreneur, you have to discipline yourself internally. You have to create that. You have to create your own structure. You have to figure out who you are, like how you operate, what you like and what you don't like when it comes to the operation of your business. What are you going to bite the bullet on and just do it even though you don't like it until you could potentially hire somebody to do it? There's a lot of different things to consider. But make no doubt about it, you want to become a business owner, you got to totally change your character and your lifestyle. So, yeah.
Huge, huge. Changing your character and your lifestyle. That's hard. That's going to be a hard pill for people to swallow, Stu. It's going to be a hard pill because people, they want the good life, but they want to stay the same. They want the good life, but they don't want to let go of that old past, that those old patterns, those old habits, the things that are their comfort zone. Since we're talking about who you must become, remember, nothing grows inside of your comfort zone. Carolyn had put some stuff up there about, I think it was Carolyn that put up there, or I can't even remember. I can't even see on Instagram. But anyway, somebody put something up there about being uncomfortable, right?
Mm.
And what does that mean? That means stepping out of the comfort zone. You have to step out of the comfort zone. And that is then you will become the person you need to become. That's actually it. When you step out of the comfort zone, you will start to become the person that you need to become in order to get to that place, right? And discipline, like Stu just said, probably up there as one of those top 3 traits that you would need in order to be there. And you said something big, Stu, that you guys hear me talk about a bunch, is that employee mindset and that entrepreneur mindset. The mindset, how we think about business, how we think about things, comes down to that employee mindset and that entrepreneur mindset. The entrepreneur mindset says, if it is to be, it's up to me, right? I'm going to
I
make
always
it
love that.
happen.
It's such a bar, dude.
Because it's just true, dude, right? If it is to be, it's up to me. Like, no one's coming to save us. No one's coming to build your own financial independence or your own health or your own mindset. Like, no one's coming to do that for you. But the employee mind, right? Even though we might not feel like we give that power, we kind of do, right? There's always someone that we could say, it's their fault. It's my boss's fault my schedule is messed up, right? It's kind of my coworker's fault that we don't get the job done. I kind of don't like the environment. It's not, and we can kind of pass the buck a little bit on that side, and then we don't take full ownership of what we do. The other side, and kind of going with the same employee mindset side with discipline, we don't understand that technically we've been conditioned to be disciplined by the outside sources, right? That's what gets us on track from school age, when the only reason you woke up was because you're going to be late for the bus, right? It was the only reason you woke up is because mom or dad was going to get mad because you're going to be late for the bus. So you got to go to school. And so that bell rings and we're automatically, all right, that's our discipline for I got to be there, right? And then we transition into college, same thing, a little bit more leeway, but same thing. Then we get into the working world and the job starts to dictate our disciplines. It starts to dictate when we wake up and when we go to sleep and those types of things. So when you get to this other side of entrepreneurship, and now you need the entrepreneur mindset, well, now you don't have anything external disciplining you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have to wake up at any time. You don't have to go to sleep at some time. You can eat lunch or dinner or breakfast whenever you feel like it,
And it's
right?
a wild transition, man.
It's crazy. Like, you would think it's so funny when I talk about this with people, because people really think that's what they want. And of course we do. We want time freedom. We want to be able to control our time. What we don't know is that we've never actually known what it means to control our time.
You've
Ever.
never had time management, like
That's
not
it.
to that degree.
Right.
I think you're hitting on something really good here. Like, part of the fear I was going to get to later had to do with unforeseen like things that come up. This is massive. Like, everyone who's an employee is kind of, you're pretty conditioned to like take care of your your income and your expenses to make it so you're saving. Like, the conversation of saving is such a huge part of the employee brotherhood, I suppose. But yeah, so you're used to managing your money. But what is very different is managing your time. And I always felt that I was very disciplined while I was at work, but in my free time, maybe not so much. I discipline myself at work. That's what that's for. But when you come into this world of an entrepreneur, you have to discipline yourself through business and pleasure. You actually want to find that harmony. There is no work-life balance anymore. I think the way Elon Musk describes it is he doesn't have a 9 to 5 he has from when he opens his eyes to when he closes his eyes.
Right.
So like, and some people find that like a gross thought because they don't like working overtime or having to answer work emails when their shift's over on the weekend. But when it's your own thing and you're passionate about it and you love it, you don't really care. You're like excited, like, oh, cool, this is a client interacting with me right now. Like, yeah, what's up? How you doing? Like, what can I do for you? Like, it's a much different vibe. Yeah, so we've touched a little bit on the mindset piece, employee entrepreneur, and the time management, because and I can't even emphasize the time management enough. I mean, for me personally, it just felt like I was on summer break for like 3 months. It was,
Listen, bro, I'll tell you, that is a real struggle for people. I help
yeah,
people down this path, bro. I help people start to transition themselves into entrepreneurship. And one of the things I see across the board is a mismanagement of time.
mm,
It's just a mismanagement of time because we've never been put in that situation before when all of your 24 hours are your 24 hours. The only time we've ever had our 24 hours be our 24 hours is the weekend. So then we treat every day like it's a weekend, right? You wake up when you want, you watch some TV, like you're just so undisciplined in your day because that's your only recollection of, oh, I'm not being told what to do this day. So that means I can run an errand at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I can go here at 4 o'clock and I can stay up late and I can do this, right? Like it's just how we process it.
yeah,
So when you try to come over here and you're like, oh, wait, now I can do whatever I want. Now you just actually don't have any foundation of knowing how to discipline yourself for what should you be doing in your time.
for sure.
So if I
And I
get,
think,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, finish.
Well, I mean, I don't know where you're about to go, but
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I was gonna give like kind of couple
go
things
for it.
to help people right down that path of saying how do you then start to manage your time. There's a couple things that you can do to start managing your time better. One, start planning your day the night before.
Mhm.
It's a huge thing that if you actually, before you go to sleep, if you actually start writing out the things that you have to get accomplished the next day, and not just that, but when you are going to get them scheduled in, really scheduling your life, right? Living off of a calendar. Those are the things that are crucial to people that actually manage and control their time. So this is a habit I've put in place myself. The night before, right before I'm about to go to sleep, I'm thinking about what do I have to get done tomorrow. I'm looking at my calendar to see what my schedule is. My schedule is relatively booked, right? For most of my days, I always have things going on. But for the newbie entrepreneur, right, that you just don't have a lot of stuff going on, then you have to tell yourself in hour-long blocks. This is really the best way to do it. In hour-long blocks, what you're going to get done from not from right. You should have a morning routine. This is stuff that as entrepreneurs, you got to start putting these things in place. What your morning should look the same or similar 7 days a week.
Mm.
You should have a morning routine. The most successful people have morning routines. Okay. Doesn't matter what time you wake up. We're not going to go there like early bird gets the worm. You got to wake up at 5. I don't care. Wake up at 10. Doesn't matter really, to be honest. Do what you want to do.
It's the consistency. Yeah.
That's it. It's just the consistency of saying, but when I wake up, this is the first thing I do. I drink a glass of water, I meditate, I jump in a cold shower, plunge or something, right? I get my body going, I exercise, boom, then I'm in my day. That's it. It's just having some consistency with your morning. So then from there, whenever your day is going to get started after you have your morning routine, let's say you want to get your day started at 9 a.m. or at 10 a.m. for work, then what are you doing from 10 to 11? You should write that down the night before. Then what are you doing from 11 to 12? You should write that down. Then from 12 to 1, 1 to 2, all the way out. You should literally give yourself things to do. That's it. And then if you can stick to that schedule, because that's what school gave you, that's what a job gave you. You just didn't see it that way. You saw it as, oh, you had to be at school. You saw it as, oh, I'm getting this paycheck. So of course I know I got to show up at 9. And of course my lunch break is around 12. And of course I know I leave at 5. Everything in between, I'm just doing work. Now on this side, it's like, okay, well, if 9 to 11, what work specifically do you need to do to move the needle of your business? What exactly is the thing you need to do to move that needle? Is it sales? Is it marketing? Is it checking in with people? Is it emails? Like, what is it during that time? Check it off, get it done. Give yourself a little break. Go get, in the spirit of our brother Kabi, right? Go outside, get some vitamin D, do some grounding, walk around, right? Get yourself in a better headspace, maybe from 12 to 1. get right back to it. From 1 to 3, that's when you're making your prospecting calls, or that's when you're having your creative time, or that's when you're setting your appointments, or whatever it is.
There's so many things. And when you first start, dude, you really don't know what to do with that time. So I'm glad you're breaking it down because, you know, when I remember when I first got into it, it's like, okay, well, what do I do with all this time now? Like before, it was super, super easy to just show up and like someone's gonna tell you what to do. So yeah, that piece is huge. Like for me, Google Calendar all day. You can set recurring events. You can modify them. You look at it the night before. You look at it day of, like whether it's a planner or a calendar on the wall or whatever. Like schedule it out. The more detailed you schedule it out, like the more efficient you're going to be. The more shit you're going to get done.
That's it. That's it. Over here on Instagram, I see Kim talking, right? Like at the end of the day, she just said she's going to use some of these things already. She put on there, I dream about what's needed and what's next for my business. That dream that's up here, just get it down, right? What's needed? I need to know. Write it down. This is what's needed. And then you're giving yourself kind of like a task list. So then when you get to your day, the next day, you're not thinking about how you woke up or what the issue was that day or the thing that distracted you, because you already have a plan, a game plan of what you need to go in and do. You know, one of the tough parts of, and since we're talking about the person you have to become, right? One of the tough parts of becoming a better entrepreneur and getting to that place is you actually holding yourself accountable to the things you know you have to get done, right? I would always tell people that you can have a horrible night, you can show up hungover at your job, you can show up and not do anything, and you'll still get paid. It don't work when you're an entrepreneur, right? You don't show up and just get paid, right? Like it's just not what happens. You actually have to execute. You actually have to do some stuff. So that's why you need to put all that stuff down and actually hold yourself accountable to that plan, because managing your time is going to be the most important thing you can do when we all get the same 24 hours in a day.
Yeah,
It's what you do with it.
absolutely, man. Yeah, time management, guys, it's absolutely huge. It's a new thing. There are tools, and you can learn it from people that have experience with it. Chris, myself, like we've gone through this. I tried to not to be as fluid. I tried to be as fluid as possible with my business, and it just made things harder. Like there's a certain balance that everybody's got to find of how fluid and structured your routine is, and you got to figure it out. And for me, the more structured I get, the more stuff I get done, the more fluid I get, the more I enjoy the process. So I'm continuously playing with it. Um, the other part of who you got to become is just breaking it down into health, mind, body, spirit. You know, we've talked about the entrepreneurial athlete before. Chris brought that in on a good life way back in the day, and it's so necessary because you have to have energy to perform your task, to stay focused. You know, to be on like what we're doing here, basically 2 hours of live streaming, just giving value of what our experiences are. Like these things take energy, and you've got to be in good shape to do that. So taking care of your body through movement, nutrition, um, taking care of your mind by just meditation, how you talk to yourself, managing that process, and anything that you do on a spiritual nature, whether it's religious or more spiritual or whatever. Just finding what your why is and tying that to your purpose and your mission statement and your morals. Like there's a lot that can be done, and you know, typically when you think about your income as an employee, your mind, body, spirit's got almost nothing to do with it.
Nothing. Nothing. If our brother Kabi was here, man, he would tell you like this life is actually not designed for you to be healthy, right? The going to work, the picking kids up from school, the 9 to 5, the traffic, the rat race, the fast food
Sitting
time,
down.
the
Yeah.
sitting down, like all of it, it's actually not designed for you to be healthy. So again, when you jump out on this entrepreneur side of things, right? These are things you have to pay attention to. Right? If you want to really scale your business and get to that place, guess what? You're gonna have to have stamina. You're gonna have to have stamina. Right? If I showed you guys my schedule, I'm in the season right now where, right, I'm busier than I've ever been. Don't complain about it, right? We just talked about it, Stu. Can't complain about being busy because we remember when we weren't busy.
Yeah, the
Right?
opposite is way worse.
Exactly. Right. So you can't really complain about it. But at the end of the day, do you have the stamina to do this? Many of you might not know this. Like, I've been talking on the computer like this since 9:30 this morning, with maybe about 2 hours in there, that half an hour here, half an hour here, maybe with the 2 hour downtime. Do you have that stamina? By the way, after we jump off this, I got a few more calls. I got two more appointments, right? Because I have West Coast people, right? So at the end of the day, do you have the stamina to get what you're asking for? You're asking to have a successful business that creates the lifestyle you want and all those things, but is your health in order to do that? Right? Do you have any of these things in place of what you're eating or what you're consuming and all those things? I don't know that we all pay attention to that the way that we should.
Yeah, no, I don't think we do.
I want to shout this person out. They're just a LinkedIn user. We don't know who you are, but thanks for commenting. Said spot on. I spent 7 years as an Air Force recruiter, and having that daily routine was crucial to my success. I lived in my planning guide. I appreciate you, whomever you are, LinkedIn user. we
Anonymous LinkedIn user. Yeah.
we appreciate you. But again, just showing how these are some success principles in general. Being able to plan your day and really stick to those daily routines and those habits, crucial to your success.
Yeah. And for anybody intimidated by this idea of changing who you are in order to make this business happen, this doesn't have to happen overnight. You just have to look at your sense of urgency.
Mm.
Like if you took my route and left your source of income to start something from scratch, your sense of urgency is higher. You don't have income. If you took other people's routes where they maintain their current employment and use their free time to build out their business, your sense of urgency is lower. You still have income coming in. So really, you kind of have to ask yourself, like, what do you want to sacrifice, like time or money? So if you're like trying to keep your present income and work on this on your side, you're sacrificing a lot of your free time. If you totally jump off the train like I did, I sacrificed more of my money. But that's okay. For me, it was all about my time. I'd spent so much time chasing money and not enjoying my own time. I was like, you know what? Let me try something different. Let me figure out who I am. So,
Before we
yeah,
jump into it, let me just touch on that part because the key to that is a sacrifice must be made.
yeah,
Sacrifice must be made. I don't care what it is that you sacrifice, a sacrifice must be made. And you get to choose what you're sacrificing. If it's too much, right? And that's the best part of it. You just have to choose what you're willing to sacrifice. Or I was willing to give up time, free time. I was willing to give up culture. I was willing to give up radio and the television and sports and all those things to just dive into my craft. I was willing to sacrifice that. For some people, that might not be a big sacrifice. For others, that might be a huge sacrifice, right? Sometimes you have to sacrifice money. Sometimes you have to sacrifice time, but a sacrifice is necessary to get to where you want to be. The
for
old
sure.
saying, you can't steal second with your foot on first. Right? Can't steal second with your foot on first. You gotta let go of that stuff. You gotta sacrifice it so you can get to where you want to be.
Speaking of letting go, perfect segue to my next point, man. Like something else that you're going to have to sacrifice is your old lifestyle, and that that may me saying that might sound just obvious based on what Chris and I have gotten into, but a lot of people get tripped up on how, like, overall, they're good with sacrificing a lifestyle that they don't like. Oftentimes, when you're thinking about starting a business, you're not really liking your present circumstances. So, something about that lifestyle isn't serving you. Good news is you can let that go if you become somebody different. But it's when you get into the day to day, like that daily like pasta joint or tacos or getting that extra sleep and not going to the gym or the socializing. That's when if you look at it too closely, you're going to not want to let go of these particular things that bring you some kind of joy. That's why you got to zoom out. Like overall, if you don't like your current lifestyle, you can let it go. And what that means is some of these day-to-day things you've got to dwindle down or stop entirely. So Yeah, I think there's a lot of sacrifice. So I'm glad we got to go into that. Keeping in mind the time, I want to jump to the fear piece of entrepreneurship. Like we could go in. There's so many different types of fear that come
We
up.
could have a whole nother episode just on fears, and we might have to be honest.
We might, we
This
might.
is it.
I think with each one of these, there's I mentioned earlier, like we're kind of at the 101 level. With each one of these, we could easily get to the 202 by just getting more into the weeds. So let me start first, high level with fear. The most common one is, what if it doesn't work? What if I go broke? So basically, fear of failure. There's also fear of what people may think. And this is nothing new if you've been watching us for a while. We talk about this stuff before, but when it comes specifically to business, you have got to develop the emotional intelligence to identify specifically what your fears are and build a plan in place that will allow you to be at least comfortable enough to do trial and error. You'll never be fully comfortable. This is uncomfortable stuff. We're talking about changing who you are, your habits. But whatever the fear is, make a plan. It's that easy. You could spend all the time thinking about the fear, or you could spend half that energy just writing out a plan and then just executing it.
Fears hold us back from everything good in life. Fears, like basic fears too, guys. We happen to be talking about business tonight, but you're scared of something. We all are. We all are. There's something that we fear. And what you have to understand as an entrepreneur and anybody that's branching out is fear is natural. It's natural. It's normal. You're supposed to feel fear. You're supposed to be scared when you're going after your goals and dreams. It's supposed to be that way. That's not the thing that holds you back. It's the thing that continues to push you forward. What you need to develop is courage. That's what you need to develop. The opposite of fear is not, right, non-fear, right, getting rid of fear. It's courage. Do you have the courage to push past it? Right? Old mentor of mine used to always say, it doesn't take money to make money. It takes courage to make money. You know that old saying, right? It takes money to make money. No, actually, it takes courage to make money. That's why. That's why you can have an immigrant come here from another country with no money and they build something amazing that allows them to become wealthy, is because they came here with courage. They came here with heart. They came here with desire. They came here with something internally that allowed them to push past the fear of leaving another country with no money and a family to support in order to then make it happen. That's courage, ladies and gentlemen. That's courage. And I hate to say this way and this bluntness, but it's true. The salary they're paying you took away your courage. Salary that they started giving you, the paycheck that they started giving you that we've become accustomed to, took away our courage to go after the things that we want. And that's what you got to get back. The fears are real. I've had the fear. Stu's had the fear. If Kabir was here, he'd say the same thing. We all have some form of fear that limits us a bit in how we're thinking about something or how we're doing it. We all have some limiting beliefs that we have to unlearn and relearn. Like it's natural, ladies and gentlemen.
It's so natural.
It's natural. Like we all have it. The difference is we've built up ways, and back to this last point we just made, who we have to become. You have to become courageous to go after your goals and dreams. You have to learn how to have better self-talk. You have to find ways to feed your faith and starve your fear, right? What is giving you faith in the process, in doing it? That's what you have to lean in towards, and don't lean into the fears, right? But the fears are going to be there. You just need to develop more courage to say, you can do it. You can make things happen. And identify. Is it a fear of failure? Well, why are you? And normally when we talk fear of failure, it's not that you're scared of, you're probably scared of someone failing in front of someone or what someone will say, right? Because if it was just you on an island and no one ever looked at you or cared about, like, you would be free to do what you want to do. If you just lived a life just excluded from everybody, you would live life however you wanted to. And that's the truth. So then when you say, well, I'm scared of this, right? What if I do? It's because you're actually scared of someone else's opinion of you, letting someone else down, what someone else would say about you. Like it's about other people. When you start breaking that barrier, when you start realizing it's not about other people, it's just about me, builds your courage. Now we can start building business.
Absolutely. You broke down a couple of ways to approach fear. And I think to take it a step further, like there's there's some of the logical ways you can do this, like you said, making a plan. If you have a fear of failure when it comes to making more money than you spend, make a plan. Like like figure out a budget, figure out how much you're going to have to make, how many clients you're going to need, or how many goods you'll have to sell, or whatever the case may be. Like make that financial plan. That is the logical way to do this. Sometimes some of these fears, especially when it comes to fear, what people may think about you, may be of a deeper nature than just a logical plan. Sometimes you have to do some type of trauma work or just dealing with your past experiences or just figuring out like why, even though I know what the logical route to proceed is, why am I having this block? What's happening? What about my beliefs in my reality, limiting beliefs, as you mentioned? What about my past experiences? What about like just how I know the world to be is preventing me from moving forward? Like you're stepping out of the logical and you have to deal with this emotional thing. And for me, like a lot of times what comes up here is shame is one of the toughest things that prevent people from even getting to a place where they want to start a business because they're too afraid to admit that they're scared of what people think. They're too afraid to admit that things may not work out as you planned, but you have to build that faith in yourself, as Chris was saying, that you can ride out the storm. You can figure it out as you go because you cannot have a plan for everything. And as my buddy Josh that just jumped on, congrats on the engagement, brother. Um, as he knows from construction, you cannot have a plan for everything that's going to happen. The same goes for business. That's why you have to develop this courage, this faith in yourself. So very well put, man. And this is
Yep.
all, we talked about who you got to become and the fear. Like this is all entwined. There's a lot more than just the numbers. So
It's so true. And again, you gave some great points too, Stu. Like just do you have a plan, right? Again, working on the money side of things. And I see a lot of people that do want to transition out. Are you working basic stuff? Are you working on a budget? Like what's your monthly nut? You know what I mean? Like what does it cost for you to just live life at the lowest, like not the life you're accustomed to using? That goes back to that sacrifice or custom to living, right? That's that sacrifice part of it, right? Many people say, I won't quit because I got to live this life. But they don't understand that really they could live this life. This is all just fluff that they've gotten comfortable with because they've had a paycheck. Actually, they could live off of this, but they're unwilling to sacrifice the fluff. So they're like, well, I won't move until I'm making this. And that's not realistic. And that's not going to help you get to where you need to be.
it's not. And even seeing you raise your hands like that again reminds me of the whole the good stops you from getting to the great. And as you mentioned earlier, that salary gives you that good, it gives you that comfortability where it's like, I don't know, man, things are good. And I still deal with this today. I think like at every moment you're either like hungry to like get to the next step or you're finally at that rest stage where you're like things are good, let me ease up, and you keep playing with the throttle.
Yeah.
um, there's another expression I have for the salary. I don't know if I've shared it with you, Chris, but to me, I call it the morphine drip of a salary
Mm.
because it just straight up like you get that monthly dose, and you're just good. You're like, man, life is set. I'm comfortable. I know when the next hit's coming. I'm just kicking back on cloud nine, and then all of a sudden the market crashes and you lose your job.
That's it. And that's what we got to remind people of. And I'm never the doomsday guy or like just put a bunch of fear in the world, right? Like, I don't, I think there should be less fears, obviously. But I think this is just the real conversation that, like, again, I think I said this in the pregame, you're vulnerable long term by just having a job. You're vulnerable. You're vulnerable.
Mm.
As good as you feel like it is, as comfy as you feel like you are, over time, what happens is your value goes down in the marketplace. The older you get, the more you stay. Let's take both sides. If you stay with a company for 12 years, going on 14, going on 15, and they have to keep giving you raises, you're on their hit list for getting off their books whenever the business has a bit of a financial hiccup. It's the first thing that business, right? This is how corporations work. They can only look at their P&L, and the things that they can change, the biggest cost is their labor. It's just numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing personal.
Amen.
Nothing
Amen.
personal.
And if you're not getting promotions while you're still getting those raises, you are 100% even more at the top of that hit list.
Exactly.
Because you got somebody next to you that could be 10, 20 years younger, and you're making who knows how much more. Man, who's putting in the same value? Actually, I answered a great question today for a podcast about how, what could people work together on in the industry and just in business and in corporate life, etc. And it's making sure you are a value, like, prioritized company or business. Like, whoever brings the value gets more of the financial value in exchange. And if you're one of those individuals that's been getting raises a lot but not getting promoted, theoretically you're doing the same amount of value as somebody doing it at a lesser extent. So great point, man. It does kind of put you on the hit list.
It puts you on the hit, like any way you look at it. I've talked about this with people in various industries. I knew a guy that I was introduced to that was in the like top, like one of the VP of sales and marketing or something like that, sales or marketing for like the Pepsi, Nabisco, right? Those types of companies. And he told me, because I met him when he had already quit that job, making, 300 some $1,000 a year, all the perks you could ever want, right? All the box seats to every big event and all that type of stuff because you work for them, right? And he quit. And I met him after he quit. And I asked him, like, why did you, like, that is the job, right? That's what we're trying to get to. The sweet life, box seats, top of a Fortune 100 company. Like, that's what you want. He's like, Chris, listen, this is really the game, right? Every year I'd have to sit across the table from someone and either give them a 2% raise or fire them. Every year I would have to do that. The higher I climbed up that ladder, I knew that one day I would be on the other side of that table. It was just a given. I did it for years, and I knew one day I would have to be on that other side. Like, that said it all. I get it, brother. I get it. That makes perfect sense to me.
That's powerful.
When you build a life and you're making $300,000, $400,000 a year in corporate America, the higher up you go, the more you're on their hit list too. The more you're on, and then your life is vulnerable. That's what I mean about vulnerability. It doesn't matter if you're just skating by at a job. It doesn't matter if you're ambitious and climbing the corporate ladder. You're vulnerable. You're vulnerable. And that's what we're trying to show people, that, like, it doesn't really matter how it feels right now. That's great. However cushy you feel like things are, cool. It's not going to be that way down the line. It's just not. You're going to lose value. You're going to get older. Industries are going to drop. Budgets can drop, right? If you're really good, you're on the target. If you're not good, you're on the target. Like, you got to make sure you pick the right industry, right?
Yeah, because markets change. Oh, yeah.
Markets change, right? There's so much, and people are willing to go through that and not willing to face their fears and, right, go through the little things that it takes to create another economy, to create an income.
Creating the economy, creating the income, that's really what it comes down to. And when you create your own economy, you are better able to predict the future of your economy. You can control and put things in place. Like, for me, for a long time, I've had one main source of how I get my clients. And it's always on my mind, like, hey, how can I spread this out? How can I spread this out? Because you don't want to just have one source of income. Even though it's all coming into my business, which then becomes my personal one source of income, my business has multiple forms of income. There's insurances in place. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is how you protect yourself, guys. We talk about ownership. We talk about getting involved. And, we're coming up here on the final minute. So just a quick recap, like, whatever overwhelming nature you have about what it takes to start a business, like, you can either put a plan together or you can just do trial and error. People have done both. I help people put a plan together. It helps them become more comfortable with the trial and error. Chris has helped other entrepreneurs kind of get underway. Like, You can build a plan and attack all of this stuff. You can simplify it. It doesn't have to be this massive thing. Who you must become. There's going to be mindset stuff from employee to entrepreneur. You're going to have to take better care of yourself for stamina and things like that, as Chris and I got into. There are going to be sacrifices. You're going to choose to sacrifice your time or your money or sacrifice your old lifestyle. And for many people, if you're watching this and you're thinking about starting a business, maybe you don't like your current lifestyle. Then why is it something that you don't want to sacrifice? How are you bullshitting yourself? I realized real quick I'm pretty good at bullshitting myself. And you kind of have to work through that as you become an entrepreneur. No one else is going to be really honest with you about the state of your business except for you. So you got to own that. And three, like with all the fears, we gave you a couple of options on how to face them. One more fear I want to touch on is fear of failure in the sense, not if your business survives, but if you'll actually provide the value that you say you're going to provide. And there can be some imposter syndrome when you start. And my advice for everybody, just to oversimplify this, undervalue, over deliver as you start. I started with free clients. You could start by doing things at cost if it's a little bit of a different situation. Just build your word of mouth, build your reputation, sacrifice some of that money, maybe take a hit on a project to keep a long-term client. Like, you can do this. Undervalue, over deliver. It's very contrary to what a lot of coaches talk about in my industry. But to me, that is the most universal thing you could ever do to get started.
Huge, huge, and that's just again a great way to wrap it up. We gave you guys a lot of things that you can use to really get this thing going and get your business off the ground. Right, that last piece that Stu said, right, about over delivering. Right, don't go into business with an ego, thinking that your people deserve to pay you,
Yeah.
right? Like that's just one of the things that don't get a big head before you can actually need one or right should have one, right? Don't worry about that side of things. Don't come into business being like, oh, I got to get paid for my services. No, you don't. Here's the good thing about business, ladies and gentlemen: the market determines your value. The market, not you. The market determines what you need, what you want, what they're willing to pay for it, all that type of stuff. Your job is to present it to them and over deliver so that it raises your value in the marketplace. That's business. That's business. So we're fired up. We're fired up to talk about this. We got to have other conversations about it, to be honest, because I think a ton of people can benefit from it.
Yeah.
Those of you that are watching Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you see on the bottom of your screen that link, bit.ly/email TGL, the good life email TGL. That gets you on our email list. We're doing a bunch of awesome stuff coming up. We got exciting news for the beginning of the year that we're going to announce really soon. And we want to get you guys prepared to get you tapped into all of this wealth of knowledge and information that we have for you. Again, the premise of the show, The Good Life, is to focus on these areas: health, wealth, relationships, mindset, right? Your overall wellness and happiness. Those are the things that if you stay focused on, you'll get to design the life that you want. And that's what we want for each and every one of you, is to be able to design the life that you want. You are not forced to be doing or be in any place. Don't believe that. You always have choices. You always have options. And we're trying to give you the tools and things that you need, the mindsets, the conversations to help you get to that next level. And again, we get three coaches normally, right? Kabir is here, but again, kudos to him on getting married. So hopefully he'll be back next week. He might even not be back next week. He might be away then. But either way, right? You get Stu, who's over on the life coaching, mindset coaching side of things. Reach out to him, start a conversation. Again, you've heard he's more than willing to help. Kabir is on the health coaching side. He really is about designing the life that you want from a wellness perspective. I'm over here on the financial side of things. If you have questions around your money, on putting that budget together, on how to get out of debt, on any of those types of things, you can feel free to reach out to me. And combined, again, all of those things combined, right, will help you really push yourself to the place you need to be, guys. So until next week, let's
Yeah.
sign off.
So well put, Chris. Just I guess the final piece is we all have experienced each other's services, like here on the Good Life. Like whether like Chris with the wealth background has had me thinking about things so much differently since we've had only a few conversations so far, and it's been great. Could be with his juice feast and us just relying on each other. Like we have a good thing going here, and we're really here to provide value. So thank you guys for tuning in. My two takeaways, just something to like ingrain in your head. When it comes to business, there's no shame in trial and error, and when it comes to providing value and trying to ask for money in return for what you're doing, undervalue, over deliver.
That's right. That's right, guys. So we're going to leave you with that. Feel free to reach out to us, sign up for the email list. Otherwise, tune in every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're on Instagram for our pregame, and then at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're jumping in for the live show on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. And we're going to give you more of the good life. So take care, guys. Enjoy your week.
Later, guys.